Hello, and welcome to the Resilient Leader's Journey, a podcast where we navigate challenging currents of growth in business. If you enjoy these podcasts, please sign up. Go on YouTube, subscribe. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please, and tell a friend. Today, my guest is a powerhouse in nonprofit leadership. Elle Davis, she's right there, is founder and chief elevation officer of the Ellevate group, and she's on a mission to transform the way nonprofit leaders think, lead, and grow. With over 2 decades in the field, she's helped organizations secure more than $20 million in funding. But her real work is building bold strategic leaders from the middle out. After being laid off multiple times and navigating a deep personal loss, Elle didn't just bounce back. She built a movement around resilience and leadership. My goodness, Elle Davis, it's so wonderful to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Trent, it's so happy. I'm so excited and happy to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Elle, getting laid off so many times, were you trying to fill out a bingo card or something with those?
Listen, I almost made it. I almost got bingo, but not quite there. So instead of I was like, okay, if they're going to keep laying me off, I think I'll do one better and I'll just hire myself.
Start yourself. And isn't that the way many entrepreneurs go? If it can't get done with somebody else, I'll just do it on myself.
Listen, that's the way of the world. I was just like, nobody else is going to lay me off.
That's right. Otherwise, you need a serious talk with the boss. So each of those layoffs must chip away at some of the armor a leader has, because they probably internalize it from, the boss may say, oh no, it's not you, it's us. But it's hard to say it's not you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first one, though, I will say the very first layoff was probably the hardest. It was from Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. And I think at the time that was I always describe it as my dream job at the time, because I was doing everything that I wanted to do, working with amazing people. And that one was difficult because a new CEO came in and thought my role should be something different. And so I probably only lasted maybe about 6 months or 7 months in his tenure. And then it was like, nope, we're gonna, you know how they say, we're gonna restructure.
Yeah, I know how they restructure. So you have a new boss that comes in and with a different set of priorities, a different set of management style. Which was it? Or both?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think the management style was different, and I think the priorities, because what he thought at the time, I was, let me see if I remember this correctly. At the time, my role was Director of Program Services. So I'm based in Chicago, and I was working at Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. And at the time, we had about 17 school-based and traditional standing clubs. So clubs that had their own buildings, and then clubs that were inside of schools. And as Director of Program Services, he thought my work should just be very different than what it was. I was primarily working with all of the clubs to ensure that they had great dynamic programming and that it was in line with Boys and Girls Clubs of America programming. And he said, no, your role should be something different. And my direct supervisor was like, no, her role is what it is.
So this isn't a new situation. There are going to be many young, resilient leaders, developing leaders that are going to be in positions where new management comes in, they have a different set of objectives and priorities. How should developing leaders face that and try to navigate that challenge with the new leader?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, you have to have allies in the workplace. So whether that is your direct supervisor or just your colleagues that you work with, I think that that's step one. It's really important to not be in an isolated island at work and think that, well, I'm going to navigate change by myself and it's going to be fine. So I think that that's first and foremost. And then the other thing is you have to be open and recognize that no job, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, right? But no job is promised. No job is promised. And so you go in with the intention to do your best work and to give it all that you've got, but also knowing that things change very quickly, especially in the nonprofit sector and especially when funding is at stake. So it's like go in with this optimism, do the good work, but also know, like build the skills. And that's what I was doing unintentionally. Like I was building my skills, not knowing that it would turn into entrepreneurship, but so happy that it did.
That's funny that you take this friction and you found a different muscle to exercise that led you
Yeah.
towards entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I call, I used to use the hashtag all the time. I don't use it as much anymore, but my hashtag was always obstacle to opportunity. So how do you
Yeah.
take how, yeah, like how do you take the obstacle? How do you take the challenging thing, the bad thing, and then you turn it into this wonderful opportunity? And I think that most people don't think about it like that. They're just like, no, this is terrible. This is an awful thing. And it's like, yeah, it's awful, but how can you learn from that? How can you do something different?
I understand. Listen, every coin has two sides to it, right? And you have to be able to see what's on the other side of the coin.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have a master's of social work from New York University. Are you tight with Spike Lee and other New York University types there? Or?
Oh my gosh, I wish, and it's so funny that you say that. So, a friend of mine just recently met Spike Lee this week in Tampa. Or
Oh,
no, she was
right.
in Atlanta. She was visiting Atlanta. She's from Tampa, but she was visiting Atlanta, and she literally posted on social media a picture with Spike Lee. And I'm like, I haven't even met Spike Lee. Like, what's going on?
I'm a first run, watch every Spike Lee movie kind of guy. I have been since the
Okay,
80s.
wait,
So
what's your favorite? I know you're interviewing me, but what's your favorite?
I do the right thing.
You're a do the
Yeah.
right thing
That
person.
was,
All right, all
that
right.
was,
I
that was all.
love the college experience, so I'm gonna have to go with School Days for me.
Yeah, that was School Days was a good movie. Absolutely right. And so now you've taken this social working both as an undergrad, now as a graduate, and you've founded your own company called the Ellevate Group. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so the Ellevate Group, before I actually officially founded the Ellevate Group, which celebrates 10 years this year, by the way, 10 years in business. Yes, I'm
Hey,
so excited.
that's a big road mark here. I wish I
I
had
know,
like
we need the confetti to come down, Trent. Where's
something
the
like that. I'm
confetti?
sure we can digital.
So before I started officially the Ellevate Group, I was just an independent consultant. And let me not just say just. I started as an independent consultant and I got a taste of the flexibility of my own time and doing work when I wanted to do the work. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go back to traditional work setting. And so I did the work for a while, and that in the intro you talked about supporting organizations and getting $20 million of funding. And that's because the first iteration of the work that I did independently, I used to write grants for organizations. And so for about 12 years, I wrote grants solely. That was primarily how I paid the bills and took care of my family. And then I had a shift at the start of the pandemic. Actually, I was like, I cannot write another grant. And so I wanted to shift. Yeah, I was done. I was over it.
By the way,
I was
that's
just
tedious
like,
work, grant writing.
it is tedious work. And when you have hard-headed clients, I love my clients, but they were hard-headed because I'm like, listen, we need to diversify funding streams. We need to do things a little differently. How are we going to sustain this if the grant goes away? And, they just didn't always get on board with what I was recommending. So I eventually said, I have to do something different. And I knew that I always loved facilitation. I had been trained while I was at Boys and Girls Clubs as a facilitator, and I actually did training nationwide for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and I loved it. And so as I thought a little bit more about the impact that I wanted to make, I really honed in and realized that middle managers were not getting the training that they needed. I was a middle manager, at some point, but I advocated for myself very, like a whole lot to go to conferences, to get the training. And I just saw that other middle managers weren't doing the same. And so I started the Ellevate Group as like an overall consulting with nonprofit organizations, but heavily lean into middle management leadership development.
Sure, sure. There's a term I use for it. It's called accidental managers. And they have these great workers who get thrust into a management role without the proper training to how to lead people. Leading people, you could be the best technical person, but leading people is a different skill. As we just learned, you had a new leader at Boys and Girls Club. That's a very different skill than what you were good at, which is program management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. And accidental leadership, I haven't not thought about it like that, but that's exactly what it is. And it's because they start off really well. This is my story, right? It's truly my story. I came into the organization fresh out of grad school, super excited about the work, worked really long hours, worked really hard, and people saw that work and were like, "Oh, okay. Well, now we're going to promote you." I got my first promotion within 9 months of working at Boys and Girls Club of Chicago, and after I got that promotion, I was in the person who hired me. I was in their office crying because I was a young leader, not knowing what I was doing and being micromanaged by my supervisor, and was like, and everybody was older than me because I was like 25. And I was like, what am I doing? And so you're right. It's accidental leadership.
What? So you're 25. You have to start directing and leading older people. How did you do that? What were some of the strategies you used?
Strategy. Now you're giving me way too much credit.
So you threw shit against, sorry, stuff against the wall and it worked. Sorry, I know.
Exactly. Exactly. I definitely did not call, I would not call it strategy. It was not strategy at 25. At 25, it was, I'm going to do what I think is right. That is the best decision on behalf of the young people that we serve. That was always kind of like my motto and like that was my through line. I always just wanted to make sure that we did what was right by the kids. And then, the other things would come into play. And so I learned very early on, I learned how to navigate having difficult conversations, right? By trial and error. Big error. Big emphasis on the error.
Yeah. By the way, now, those are the best. You put your hand on the hot stove only once. Right?
Listen.
Well,
You're
the
not going to do
intelligent
that
people.
again.
Yeah, you don't do it again, and you figure it out. And it's in some ways it's no different than that. Listen, I didn't understand my mother telling me that if you put your finger in a socket, it hurts. Until guess what? I put my finger in a socket. Lesson
Now,
learned.
Trent, I didn't need to be told that. I stayed away from the sockets.
Well, I'm the dumb one between the two of us. So, what does Ellevate Group have for clientele? Give me a sweet spot clientele that you try to draw in.
Yes, I love this question. So the sweet spot is really, so what we love to do is cohort based training. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? We love to take an organization that has already maybe 350, 400 employees, and we love to take a group of their middle managers and take them through a cohort based 6 month, 7 month training program. And so we're doing this with a couple of organizations now. We have one organization where it's all of their internal folks. So they have about 70 middle managers. We're in cohort number 2 with this particular organization, Family Focus, based in Chicago. And we have about 11 of their middle managers, and we just finished up month 2 of actual curriculum, and we meet for a full day for 6 hours. And then we also have group coaching that I call an hour of power once a month as well. And so we take them through. Ellevate Group has 15 success drivers that we believe every middle manager should have. And so we condense, obviously we can't get through 15, a 7th or 8 month program, but the way that we divide it is based on all of the middle managers take like a pre-assessment, and based on an aggregate result of that pre-assessment, we then pull the success drivers that they most need as a group. And we love this type of model because folks get to learn in community, which I think is very valuable, super important.
Yes.
They get to lean on each other through challenges. We had some talks about, some difficult conversations. I actually see some of myself in some of them. And, it's a fun time. It's a really good time to get them to think broader, to think about the bigger vision of the organization and not just their part. And so we love that. My team and I we love putting the programs together. We love meeting the new people and, working with them over a time period.
Super exciting. And so, if I understood you right, once you do the pre-assessment, you're shaping the direction of the cohort based on that. You don't walk in with a pre-described to upper management and say, we're going to learn these. Is that my understanding you right?
It's a little bit of both because we shape it, but it's shaped within the 15 success drivers.
I see. Okay.
So it's not just broadly shaped. It is the way that we've done the assessment is specific to those 15 success drivers so that we're not customizing all of the time, right? We're customizing within reason.
No, I
Yeah.
understand completely. And what's the average age of the middle managers you're working with?
So they range I see the average age is probably about 35. Yeah.
And so tell me, before somebody starts in one of your cohorts and when they finish, what do you expect the change to be?
I think the primary thing, and this one is difficult because it's not as tangible as people would like, but the primary thing, honestly, is like confidence. They are leading with more confidence. And I think what happens, to your point of the accidental leadership, is there's no way I had confidence at 25 leading a team of people. Like, just no way. I was confident in a lot of things, but leading people that were older than me was not it. And so I think because of the way that we do the work, so this week when I had the conversation, or when we had our training day, we talked about strategic decision making and strategic planning. And when you have a group of people who have never participated in a strategic plan, not sure around certain language, like I said theory of change, and they were like, well, what's that? Right? What is theory of change? I'm not sure that I understand what that is or what that means. And so now you're giving them language, you're giving them just the ability to think in a different way. We talked about how important it is to slow down your thinking and not be pressured and rushed into everything. And so now they have a different level of like confidence and kind of like, they put their shoulders a little bit higher and head. Yeah, they got a little swag to them where they're like, listen, okay, I now have the language, and I've also really thought about what this term means or how this shows up in my work. So confidence, I think, is the utmost importance. And I think you have to have confidence to lead organizations, right? My hope and desire is that everyone that ever touches any training that's a part of the Ellevate group is that they one day are senior and executive level leaders. And to be a senior and executive level leader in a nonprofit sector, you got to have a whole lot of confidence, a whole lot of patience, a whole lot of flexibility.
Where does emotional intelligence fit into your training, or does it? I mean, it's self-awareness, self-regulation.
It's huge. So I'm a big Brene Brown fan, and she talks a lot about like the courage, and I equate a lot of that to the emotional intelligence. It's so important for people to self-regulate, be self-aware in terms of what's happening, as well as being able to connect with others. There's Trent, there's a school of thought, like some people are like, I go to work and that's it. I don't go to work to build relationships. I don't go to work. And I think that does happen in work, maybe a little bit better in the corporate sector. I think that there's a different way of connecting in the nonprofit sector. Most folks that are in the nonprofit sector really lead with their heart and are doing heart work. And so it is really difficult to disconnect from people and not like build personal relationships. I am of the mindset that you actually work better when you at least get along. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but I think when you have a little bit of a personal connection with people, I think you work better and you're happier.
I understand. It's hard to be friends. Some of the people out there might be Packers fans.
Oh my goodness. Listen. And I can't be friends with a Packers fan.
Oh, so okay. So now we're back to the beginning story.
The Bears,
I
all
understand.
day.
They're on the rise.
Although I probably shouldn't say this out loud. I don't know if I'm going to say this. No, I'm going to say it. I'm bold.
Bring it.
Listen, I'm
Bring it.
confident. I'm bold.
Bring it.
I really do like the Pittsburgh Steelers too.
My goodness. That's almost like blasphemy. That's almost as bad as saying you like the Patriots.
Patriots.
All right, listen. Only 95% of my audience are Patriots fans, so I'm sure they'll forgive you for that one. Next time.
I was definitely rooting for Seattle in the.
When you have your cohorts put together, I would assume you put some level of report together for senior management. Are you defining who the people are that are more effective at leadership than others?
We do, but not like in a direct way. We try to, because we have like midpoint conversations to say, hey, this is what we're seeing, this is what's happening so far. And then at the end, we do kind of do a run through of like what we've seen, excuse me, and the growth that we've seen in individuals. And so we don't necessarily pinpoint and say, yes, this is your person, unless we feel super strong about like, don't lose this person. Like, definitely don't lose these people. You know, we try to be a little diplomatic about it because we know that can be a sensitive subject, but we also want, you know, executive leadership to understand that they're making the investment. You know, I love an organization that chooses to make the investment in their middle managers and sees it as a value add. And so we do want to communicate with them, you know, who they should be looking at when those senior and executive level leadership roles open up.
Absolutely. You know, I think we would say, and I know that you're an adjunct professor as well, but when a student gets a poor grade, it shouldn't come as a surprise to them. They should be knowing it all. They should know it all along. You're not surprising anybody because of whatever effort, and not everybody rises to the top through these cohorts, I would imagine as well.
Yeah.
Some
No,
people,
everyone doesn't, and that's disheartening, you know.
yeah,
I take that a little personal because
I
I
bet you
take my
do.
work seriously.
I bet you do. By the way, it is hard for people in our business to see that I've got 20 people and 18 latch on. And the two, for whatever reason, we're not able to connect with as well. And
At all.
it's very hard. And that happens in the workplace as well. And that's why sometimes change is required because people can't latch on. You're not connecting to my mission. I'm not connecting to your needs. And that happens
Absolutely.
too often. You had the distinct honor to give a TEDx talk at Babson College a little while ago.
Yep. About 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. It was called the Embracing Resilience as Your Superpower. And I think you referenced some of your superpower coming out of Wakanda.
Wakanda forever.
Forever. But what was really notable to me was that you tied a theme from the poet Langston Hughes through it. You used his poem Mother to Son, and we know that life ain't always been a crystal stair, right? And so why did you choose Langston Hughes to represent you in that moment?
So I used to write poetry when I was younger how do I want to describe it? It was the way that I was able to express my emotion. And so I would go, like I said, grow up in Chicago, and I lived steps away from the beach. I could get to the beach in less than 5 minutes. And I would go sit by the water and sit on the rocks and write poetry. And when I was younger, I always participated in like oratory contests and things like that. Langston Hughes I remember learning that poem in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And yeah, I learned it in 3rd grade and always thought that it was such a powerful piece. And when I had the privilege of doing the TEDx, as I thought about the story I was going to tell and what I wanted to connect it to, that like instantly, it's like you think about it, but you don't. It just popped into it came into my spirit like, oh, this is the piece that you start with.
And then that become like a North Star for you from that point?
It did, and it's interesting because I had a friend in the audience at the TEDx, and she was like, I had no idea where you were going with this Langston Hughes poem, right? Like I wasn't sure why you started with that, but it really is because we don't know. Life is not easy for many of us. Life brings about challenges, whether it's work challenges, whether it's personal challenges, family. And it's all about how we navigate it. And I think resilience and the reason I say it's our superpower is because I think that the more that we tap into our resilience, the more that we exercise it, the better we're able to get through challenges, no matter what they are.
Superpower is a right way. I say it in terms of resilience is a reflex, but it's only a reflex because you've built it and made it strong over time. But a superpower is another wonderful way to say it, and I would encourage our listeners that after they finish this podcast, that they should go look up Elle Davis TEDx because it's a really
immediately go look up Elle Davis TEDx. Immediately.
What else are you doing? Right? What else are you doing? Elle, I have one final question to ask you. Who is your favorite fictional character?
Trent. Favorite fictional. Oh, I got it. I know this.
Right.
Claire Huxtable from The Cosby Show.
Claire Oxtable. I love Claire. Felicia Rasad. Yes.
So
Tell
listen,
me why. Why is she your favorite fictional character?
Because growing up, watching that show, she was every bit of intelligence, sass, love, care, no nonsense, culture, like you name it, she like
Successful lawyer.
embodied it. Listen, she embodied it all, right? Like the speaking in Spanish, the hola, ¿cómo estás? Like, right? Like the everything, the jazz. Like, she did everything. And it was like, come on, Claire. Yes.
That is a great selection. I'm so happy you did it. Elle Davis, thank you very much for coming on our podcast. You've been a pleasure to have. We appreciate you.
Trent, thank you. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Friends, resilient leaders face challenging currents, and it's tough navigating, but with one tack or another, we can get there together. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Of course, if you do, please subscribe. Come on back again. Get to meet some more of my new friends. Be well. We'll talk soon. Thank you.